Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Maverick News Channel. Hello, Maverick family, and Merry Christmas. We're into the final stretch. The jolly old man will come visiting very soon. But before we get to that, we have so much crazy news to share with you tonight. The U.S. going after another oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela. We have, what else do we have? Oh, yeah. The thing we're going to focus on most tonight is AmericaFest, the divide that became painfully obvious, painfully visible in the most public of ways within the MAGA movement. And we're some of the stuff that I've seen over the last couple of days, it just blows my mind. Not the least of which is the exhibit, if you want to call it that, of the recreated Charlie Kirk murder scene. Yeah, it's a thing, or it was a thing at AmericaFest. So stay with me. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. Epstein files. It's Sunday. It's the day of the talk show interviews, the Sunday news magazine programs where the newsmakers are interviewed, as featured guests. So we've got some of that stuff going on. And yeah, the big dispute, the feud that has really erupted within the MAGA movement. And it's about the Israel-Palestine Jewish question, America's involvement. It's a question of immigration, Islam, racism, Nazis, Ben Shapiro, Alex Jones, Steve Bannon. We've got it all. It's a show. It was a heck of a show with pyrotechnics and a whole lot of infighting. We'll be right back.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
The U.S. Coast Guard tonight is in active pursuit of another vessel in international waters near Venezuela. U.S. authorities have already seized 2 oil tankers this month, one of them just yesterday. And this is the second such pursuit this weekend. The one today related to a vessel that the U.S. administration is calling a sanctioned dark fleet vessel that is part of Venezuela's illegal sanctions evasion. They say it is flying a false flag under a judicial seizure order. So Washington is accusing Venezuela of using oil money to fund a drug-related crime. They're going after the drug cartels, as we all know, blowing alleged drug cartel boats out of the water. Venezuela, however, describing this tanker and these tanker seizures as theft and kidnapping. The president last week ordered a blockade of sanctioned oil tankers entering and leaving Venezuela. And we know that Venezuela is home to the world's largest proven oil reserves. And Venezuela has accused the Trump administration of trying to steal its resources. U.S. authorities have not confirmed Sunday's pursuit exactly, and the exact location and name of the tanker involved is not yet known officially. Some rumors out there, which we won't follow at the moment. We'll wait for official confirmation. But as of last week, more than 30 of the 80 ships in Venezuelan waters or approaching the country were under U.S. sanctions. This according to data compiled by tankertrackers.com. So Saturday's seizure saw a Panamanian-flagged vessel boarded by specialized tactical team in international waters, and the ship is not on the U.S. Treasury's list of sanctioned vessels, but the United States is saying it was carrying sanctioned PD VSA oil. So in the past 5 years, the ship also sailed under the flags of Greece and Liberia. And the Venezuelan government is responding tonight saying these acts will not go, these are their words, these acts will not go unpunished. Venezuela, of course, is very dependent on revenues from its oil exports to finance its government budgets, all of its spending. And it looks like a ground invasion might be on the back burner while this effort to cut Venezuela off from the rest of the world economically by seizing oil tankers, preventing Venezuela from effectively engaging in international trade with its most valuable, or at least its most prominent resource, oil, is cut off. So we've seen in recent weeks the U.S. building up its military presence in the Caribbean Sea, and it's carried out deadly strikes on these alleged Venezuelan drug smuggling boats. Almost 100 people now have been killed in those strikes. Controversial they are, especially the one strike that appeared to involve survivors at a double tap, as they're calling it. Secretary of State Marco Rubio indicated on Friday, and again, this is a quote from Rubio from Friday, saying it is clear that the current status quo with the Venezuelan regime is intolerable for the United States. He went on to say that the goal of the Trump administration is to change that dynamic. Now, his comments were criticized by Venezuela's foreign minister, who accused Rubio of dragging the U.S. down the path of regime change. And it is interesting to see that going on. And in fact, we have seen some confirmation of that from the U.S. administration itself, the Trump administration. All this coming from a Trump government and Trump himself, a president who was elected promising not to get the United States involved in additional wars, and certainly not new forever wars. Well, he calls himself the peace president. He is now immersing himself in this action in Venezuela, in the Caribbean. So we have our eyes on this one, and I don't know where it's going to go. But this is the kind of thing that sometimes begins in a fashion where it appears to be sort of a sure thing, but history has shown that an effort like this, an engagement like this, sometimes winds up defining in history a presidency. let's move on, shall we, to something else that will no doubt influence the way Trump is seen by historians, by Americans, by the world after he leaves office, the Epstein files. Tonight, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche making headlines after his appearance on Meet the Press on NBC today, saying that the Justice Department's decision to remove over a dozen photographs yesterday that had been released earlier as part of the files on Jeffrey Epstein has nothing to do with President Donald Trump. And it came, according to Blanche, at the request of victim advocacy groups. He says that the photographs removed included unredacted pictures of women, and the photo will go back up after Justice Department officials investigate whether they need to make further redactions. We have the clip from Meet the Press, so let's roll some of that. Because here we are with a news organization making news with a prominent newsmaker on one of the most prominent news stories of the current times, the Epstein files. Here's Todd Blanche.
Redactions, which you raised, the Epstein Files Transparency Act prohibits redactions, quote, on the basis of embarrassment, reputational harm, or political sensitivity. Has anything been redacted on that basis?
Absolutely, positively not. And that's another trend that is just simply false. There were a number of photographs that were pulled down after being released on Friday. That's because a judge in New York has ordered us to listen to any victim or victim rights group if they have any concerns about the material that we're putting up. And so when we hear concerns, whether it's photographs of women that we do not believe are victims or we didn't have information to show that they were victims, but we learned that there are concerns, of course we're taking that photograph down and we're going to address it. If we need to redact faces or other information, we will, and then we'll put it back up. So we are in every way, shape, and form complying with this statute, which, by the way, is what President Trump has been asking us to do since before he was elected. There is nothing that he has to hide in the Epstein files. There never was. And even though there's repeated attempts by Democrats to paint him as being part of the Epstein saga, it's failing over and over again. And so you should not be surprised that the material that we released on Friday or the material that we're going to release over the next couple of weeks is exactly what the statute requires us to release, which is everything that we have from this case, with the exception of redacting personal information from victims and other statutes, privileges and things like that. Otherwise, everything's getting produced.
Mr. Blanche, I want to follow up with you on what you just said. You were referencing the 15 files released Friday. They disappeared from DOJ's website yesterday, including this photo of what looks like a desk with a drawer open containing photos of Donald Trump. Just to be very clear, to put a fine point on it, why were these files taken down? You're saying it was at the direction of a judge?
Well, you can see in that photo, there's photographs of women. And so we learned after releasing that photograph that there were concerns about those women and the fact that we had put that photo up. So we pulled that photo down. It has nothing to do with President Trump. There are dozens of photos of President Trump already released to the public, seeing him with Mr. Epstein. He has said that in the 90s and early 2000s, he socialized with him. So the absurdity of us pulling down a photo, a single photo, because President Trump was in it, is laughable. And the fact that everybody's trying to act like that's the case is a reflection of their true motivation. But the reality is anybody, any victim, any victim's lawyers, any victim rights group can reach out to us and say, hey, Department of Justice, there's a document, there's a photo, there's something within the Epstein files that identifies me, and we will then, of course, pull that off and investigate it.
Are you saying that one or more of the women in one of the photos or several of the photos is a victim or a survivor of Jeffrey Epstein, and that's why you took those files down? And will they be put back up?
No, that's not what I'm saying. We, of course, if we knew that, if we believed that that photograph contained a survivor, we wouldn't have put it up in the first place without redacting the faces. But notwithstanding what we believe, we don't have perfect information. And so when we hear from victims' rights groups about this type of photograph, we pull it down and investigate. We're still investigating that photo. The photo will go back up, and the only question is whether there will be redactions on the photo. And of course, if there are survivors in any of the photos, we will redact them as Congress expects us to do, as President Trump expects us to do, and as the Attorney General and Director Patel have directed the department to do.
Okay, let's delve more deeply into the redactions. Is any information about President Trump redacted in any of the files that have or will be released?
No. Not unless it's supposed to be redacted under the law, which means victim information or any sort of privilege, like attorney-client privilege. But I have no reason to believe that the lawyers that were working on this case were talking about President Trump, because he had nothing to do with the Epstein files. He had nothing to do with the horrific crimes that Mr. Epstein committed. And so I don't expect there will be anything redacted. But the short answer is we are not redacting information around President Trump, around any other individual involved with Mr. Epstein. And that narrative, which is not based on fact at all, is completely false.
The White House has said that President Trump is included in the files. Can you guarantee that every mention and every photo of President Trump in the Epstein files will be released?
Yes. Yes, I mean, I've said it 3-4 times now. We've said it before, and President Trump has said it repeatedly since before he was elected. And since he was elected, all summer long, he said the same thing. I have nothing to hide. And so, of course, that's the case. But let me just make sure everybody understands something. To the extent that he is, quote, in the Epstein files, it's not because he had anything to do with the horrific crimes. Full stop. But yes, if President Trump is mentioned, if there's photographs that we have of President Trump or anybody else, they, of course, will be released with the exception of any victims or survivors that we've identified, which we will either not release that photograph if it's just a photograph of a survivor, or if we do release the photograph because there's other individuals in the picture, the survivor's face or her entire body in some cases will be redacted.
And joining me now is Deputy Attorney General.
It just... don't you think that if they were competent, they would have given more thought to what they were releasing before they released it? And if redactions were necessary, or if there were images of people or women in the photos that shouldn't have been released, that they wouldn't have released it to begin with? It just seems like the level of incompetence here is beyond measure, because now it has been released. So if there were images of victims that could be harmed from that, and they released it, and especially if it was contrary to any law, that would open up the door for some sort of, I would think, litigation. Somebody going to sue somebody, especially if it's damaging to reputation or emotional damage. I mean, pain and suffering. The list goes on. And in such a major case, wow, this is sort of editorializing here, but it's a gong show. Stay with me. More to come on the other side of this.
The information war is raging. Truth without integrity is worth nothing. Maverick News. Because those who have power and those who seek it must be held accountable.
The world is watching.
Join our family of truth seekers. Donate today and add your voice to the chorus of Maverick Knights. Donate at maverickdonations.com. Truth Integrity. It's the Maverick way. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Maverick News isn't just a news outlet, it's a community of truth seekers. Your donation at freedomreporters.com fuels our mission to report the stories that mainstream media won't touch. Thank you, Maverick family.
So, the other thing that made headlines this week was the President's Walk of Fame. The Presidential Walk of Fame, actually, is what it's called. And I thought maybe we would just take a little stroll down the Presidential Walk of Fame because they have these new plaques up, I guess written by Donald Trump himself, and they are precious, to say the least. We didn't really get into the nitty-gritty on this. I mentioned it only very briefly the other night, but it's Sunday, so of course that opens the door to, or gives us the opportunity for a weekend review, and this is one of the top stories still making headlines. So let's take a stroll down the Presidential Walk of Fame, shall we? Which it says here was conceived, built, and dedicated by President Donald J. Trump as a tribute to past presidents, good, bad, and somewhere in the middle, who served our country and gave up so much in so doing. The Presidential Walk of Fame will long live as a testament and tribute to the greatness of America. Dedicated on November 5th, 2025. And there you see, I guess they're putting the finishing touches on it. They've got crews there, whatever they're doing, polishing the gold. And there's instead of Biden's picture, he took that down and put up a picture of the auto pen. And under there, he writes, Sleepy Joe Biden was by far the worst president in American history. I shouldn't, this is funny, but it isn't really funny. This is in the White House. Somebody has an axe to grind. Taking office as a result of the most corrupt election, capital E, ever seen in the United States, Biden oversaw a series of unprecedented disasters that brought our nation to the brink of destruction. His policies caused the highest inflation ever recorded, leading the U.S. dollar to lose more than 20% of its value in 4 years. I was watching Peter Schiff, economist, just this morning. Not a broadcast from today, but he was talking about Trump blaming inflation on Biden, but pointing out that the bulk of the inflation that we experienced, that the U.S. experienced, the world experienced, certainly on the U.S. side, during that period was because of Trump's economic policies during the pandemic, because he had all these lockdowns, just like in other countries, including Canada, and they started to print money to stimulate the economy in the absence of economic growth and actually more economic output. So they artificially provide liquidity, and it's Keynesian economics, but they pumped a lot of, money into the system, and that resulted in a lot of inflation. Anyway, he goes on, his Green New Scam surrendered American energy dominance, and by abolishing the southern border, Biden let 21 million people from all over the world pour into the United States, including from prisons, jails, mental institutions, and insane asylums. His Afghanistan disaster was among the most humiliating events in American history and resulted in the murder of 13 brave American service members, with many others gravely wounded. Seeing Biden's devastating weakness, Russia invaded Ukraine, and Hamas terrorists launched the heinous October 7th attack on Israel. Nicknamed both Sleepy and Crooked, Joe Biden was dominated by his radical left handlers. They and their allies in the fake news, capital F, capital N, media, capital M, attempted to cover up his severe mental decline and his unprecedented use of the auto pen following his humiliating debate loss to President Trump in the big June 2024 debate. It's true. He was forced to withdraw from his campaign for re-election in disgrace. Biden weaponized law enforcement against his political opponents while also persecuting many other innocent people. He left office issuing blanket pardons to radical Democrat criminals and thugs, as well as members of the Biden crime family. But despite it all, President Trump would get reelected in a landslide and save America. Only in America today. There's more shots. What's this one? This one is making the headlines too. Obama. Barack Hussein Obama was the first black president, a community organizer, one-term senator from Illinois, and one of the most divisive political figures in American history. As president, he passed the highly ineffective Unaffordable Care Act, resulting in his party losing control of both houses of Congress and the election of the largest House Republican majority since 1946. He presided over a stagnant economy, approved the terrible Iran nuclear deal, and signed the one-sided Paris Climate Accords, both of which were later terminated by President Donald J. Trump. It's a good thing Donald Trump doesn't have a big ego. Under Obama, the ISIS caliphate spread across the Middle East. Libya collapsed into chaos, and Russia invaded and took Crimea in Ukraine. He crippled small businesses with crushing regulation and environmental red tape, devastated American coal miners, and weaponized the IRS and federal bureaucracies against his political opponents. Obama also spied on the 2016 presidential campaign of Donald J. Trump, which appears to be true, and presided over the creation of the Russia hoax, which may not be entirely untrue, the worst political scandal in American history. His handpicked successor, Hillary Rodham Clinton, would then lose the presidency to Donald J. Trump. Well, that did happen. There he is with Bush, Clinton, and Bush. We won't read those. Oh, there's Reagan. Going back in time. Who's the greatest president ever? Depends on who you ask. Ask Donald J. Trump. He'll tell you. And there you go. Those are the ones making the headlines that are generating the most controversy. These are creating division within MAGA, and certainly within the Republican ranks. The hardcore MAGA faithful, I think, I don't know. Do they find this amusing? I'm just going to look in the Rumble chat. Let's see what's going on over there. What do you guys think? Is that appropriate? Is that the kind of thing that should be like hyper ultra partisan, right? You think that's appropriate? I have to say the wording seems pretty Childish would be my word. Cindy says, I feel it is awful. Yeah, I just don't think it's the kind of thing that's becoming, Hey, Cindy. Vicky, hello. Yeah. Try Terfiat proton mail. TRFY. I don't know how, not sure. Hello, proton. I'll just call you proton mail because I'm not sure how to pronounce the first part of that in the chat. Hello, Cindy. Hello. And Jubilee. Hey, Dragon. And Lindy's in there too. And thank you, Lindy, for your support. I'm going to be sending you a thank you. And a couple of other people too. So thank you. Thank you for those of you who have supported the program and have donated in the last couple of days. You are getting the Maverick 2025 Christmas album. I still have to send it out. I'm going to do it all at once. Well, I'll do more later, but I'm going to do, a few people all at once. Going to upload that and send it to you by WeTransfer. So look for that in your email. And then you can download all the songs. We're going to share at least one of those tunes with you tonight, I think. So there's that. Little ray of sunshine or glistening snow and all this darkness. And that's what tonight's thumbnail says too. It's America's dark side. And I think you're seeing it right there on display in the White House. It's right there in the Presidential Walk of Fame. To me, that's dark. That's negative. Very, very negative. It's vindictive, petty, divisive. But that's the approach that is being taken by this administration. No compromise, whereas Steve Bannon would say, all gas, no brake. Because they're on a mission and they are pissed. There's real, genuine anger behind a lot of this stuff. And they're not letting up. And they're not giving even a fraction of an inch to their political opponents. They're out to destroy, I would say, the Democrats, the progressives, the liberals. It's a war against liberalism, and it is in full swing. And it's really only just beginning. As you've seen, Bannon at AmericaFest stood up and began his speech declaring we are at war. He's done it before, but man, it really seemed to carry deeper meaning this time around at AmericaFest. We're going to dig into AmericaFest as the program progresses because there has been AmericaFest wound up, I think, really dividing MAGA in an unprecedented way. And they've really begun to attack some of their own. They've turned on some of their own, and it's largely because of the Jewish question, in my estimation. And it's because Ben Shapiro was one of the first to fire a shot across the bow with his speech at AmericaFest, where he called out some of the biggest names in conservative influencing online. Tucker Carlson, Candace Owen. Set off a firestorm, called them out because of their, I guess, well, we're going to run Shapiro's speech or a lot of it tonight so that it'll give you a sense of what's going on within the conservative movement. And it's affecting not just the conservative movement in the United States, but this is going to resonate around the world with this whole, what shall I put it? Some would characterize it as the global freedom movement or a far right movement or, but it's very, very clear that this is an international, global movement. It's not just MAGA in the States. You're seeing Make America Great Again, Make Canada Great Again. You're seeing the same slogans. It's like a brand as much as anything as like an international party. It's the New World Order, baby. Wake up. It's the New World Order. And you're helping to usher it in.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarmingly, some media outlets publishing things that simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
In an ocean of lies a century deep, the truth awaits. Choose not the red pill. Choose not the blue pill. For both are an illusion. Discover the power of M. The power of individuality. We are mavericks. We are the way to the light. Fear not the storm. Join our quest for truth. Truth will set you free. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So before we get too deep into the AmericaFest stuff, let's just scoot back up here to Canuckistan, Canada. Here's Pierre Poilievre. It's Sunday. Sunday talk shows, interview programs. He's a newsmaker. What's he saying about Canada, the economy, Carney?
We should be the most affordable country in the world, yet why are we one of the most expensive? Government. We should be the
Very short, sweet, to the point. You know, I've heard myself say that many times. I'd like a little less government in my life. Maybe some lower taxes, leave a little more money in people's pockets so that we can decide for ourselves how to spend it. There's a balance there. And that's been traditionally the conservative move, you know. But it's gone much further than that. And I've been talking about this being an international movement. I honestly find Poilievre hard to peg. I don't know really what to expect from him. He seems to just be all over the map saying, he just seems to say things that he thinks he needs to say in order to get people to vote for him. At least on the, he going further and further and further and further to the right, claiming some of that territory that had been staked out by the People's Party of Canada and Maxime Bernier, stealing some of their campaign talking points, their platform, while Carney moves further to the right as well, and we saw that, and he's picking up some of that, I'd say more of the middle ground territory, and that's one of the reasons I think Poilievre was not as successful as he should have been, especially given the lead that he had heading into the last election. We've discussed that. And internationally, we're seeing, the rise of right-wing parties in places like Germany and certainly in Italy. But this is because of exactly what I've been saying. This is the world being carved up into spheres of influence and or basically dominance. And Europe has been put on notice by Trump. It is time for you guys to pay your own bills and defend yourselves. America's not going to be there for you anymore. It's becoming painfully clear. The old alliances are fracturing, and these European countries are going to be left on their own. This is why what's going on in Ukraine is so pivotal. And America is backing away, becoming more of an isolationist country. And we don't need to get into the historical parallels here tonight, but it's pretty clear that we are seeing elements of history echoing, rhyming. So here's Maloney saying that with this kind of thing happening, European countries want really to kind of be treated with respect. They don't want to be sort of vassal states of the United States anymore. She's sending a message here to Europe saying, wake up, grow up, stop pretending that U.S. protection is free. It never really was. It came with strings, because if the U.S. is going to protect you, they get to control you, I guess. That wasn't really what the deal was supposed to be, I don't think, after World War II. I think it was the arrangement that was set up in the rules-based international order was supposed to be designed to prevent the proliferation of nuclear weapons. But now, because of what's going on, because of Russia, China, the United States mainly, being the superpowers, kind of giving each other a wink and a nod and a nudge, saying, you stay out of my backyard, I'll stay out of yours. Let's carve the world up. As a result of that, the U.S. is not there to be the policeman of the world anymore. Countries are going to be left to defend themselves. You know what that's going to mean? And I've heard political analysts just even in the last week starting to acknowledge this on a broader scale. It means greater proliferation of nuclear weapons because all countries are now going to try to pursue getting a bomb. Not just Iran, which continues to try to find a place at the nuclear table. You need to have that bomb if you want to have a voice, if you want to be treated as an equal, or at least given a place to speak at the table at all. The bomb. Anyway, here's a clip from Maloney talking about the future of Europe, essentially. Let's bring this up. We have subtitles. And so I'll read these along for people who just listen on our podcast with no video. It says, we are also working to build a leading nation, Italy. Protagonist in the West. For a few days, there are very alarmed assessments because Donald Trump said in a manner, the most decisive one here, the previous American presidents, that the United States intend to disengage to the old continent, that therefore Europeans must organize yourself to be able to defend yourself. What to say? Good morning, Europe. Good morning. For 80 years, we contracted out our security to the United States of America, thinking that this day would not come, but especially pretending it was free, just wasn't. There was a price to pay, and it is called conditioning. I've said it 1,000 times, freedom has a price. And we who, unlike others, who never liked foreign interference from anywhere, those uncertainties scare, we have always preferred an expensive freedom to a very expensive but apparently convenient servitude. That's why we spoke in unsuspected terms of the need to strengthen our defense and security capacity. That's why we claimed when no one did, the need to create finally a European column of NATO of equal strength and dignity to the American, able to speak fully with all the powers of the world as befits to a one glorious civilization like Europe, which also means strengthen our bond with the United States, but in a dialogue between peers and not under conditions of subordination. And the absurd thing is that the same, what was that? Left wing that accuses us If we saying so, subjection to Americans then in fact asks the Americans that do not give up considering us subordinates and to treat us as subordinates because they are like that. They like the boss. From unsuspected times before, when there was the Italian Communist Party, it was Moscow, then became Paris, Berlin and Brussels. Americans are fine too, but as long as the Democrats rule, when the Republicans arrive, they change their minds. Here we do not reason like that. Times are a-changing. That's the bottom line. And it is what I've been saying it is. It's dividing the world up into spheres of dominance. The question in Europe is, who will dominate Eurasia? Will it be Russia? Or will it be the EU? Or some other combination of that? As I've been saying for a long time, this ideology, this political movement, this is not a movement of peace. This guarantees conflict because this uproots everything and pits nation against nation. That's one of the reasons I think you're seeing nationalism on the rise. It's also a response to what the left-wing politics has done to countries, especially on the immigration issue. Now we're reaping the darkness of all of that because both sides have been engaging in you know, the liberals or the progressives, however you want to call it, their activities that put them into direct conflict with the right wing. But in the end, I'm seeing a lot of similarities, more similarities than differences between the two. They have authoritarianism in common because this is not, you know, classical liberalism. That's not even what we were getting before. We were getting something further to the left. And it's not really what I would characterize even as liberalism. It was a different version of liberalism. It's been progressivism, progressive politics, identity politics. We've been involved in the culture war for some time. Now, because of this movement butting up against and conflicting with what we've been going through for quite a long for decades, now this is a powder keg. So hold on. We're in for a bumpy ride, folks.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so it is Sunday. It is a day of review, largely, and let's review exactly what I was talking about. Steve Bannon proclaiming right off the top of his speech at AmericaFest, we are at war.
Thank you, thank you. We are at war. You know how we know this? You just heard Hawkins up here a few minutes ago, right? What did she say at the very moment Charlie Kirk was assassinated, at the University of Montana? They laughed in her face, right? Laughed in her face, and some guy goes, oh, we're at war. Charlie Kirk knew we were at war. Every time I've spoken at any event of Turning Point, I always start with that because Charlie Kirk knew one thing. He knew we were at war, and he knew we were going to be victorious if we didn't quit. Now, what do I mean by that? Let's go back. Do you understand, for the last 10 years, there have been 8 national elections, either primaries, off-year elections where Congress is voted on for the whole nation, or presidential elections. We have won 7 of those 8. This is why they hated Charlie Kirk. It wasn't Charlie Kirk's philosophy or even his debates. Charlie Kirk was a tough person that built a machine that you guys are dedicated to that delivered victories. Let's be specific. Go back to 2015. President Trump, 15-16, wins the primary against all odds. Then in 16, he wins a come-from-behind, once-in-a-lifetime victory against Hillary Clinton. We lost the 18 midterms because people were leaning on their rakes, and we lost, 35 or 40 House seats, and Nancy Pelosi told us exactly what she was going to do. She impeached Trump and almost brought it all down. President Trump came back, won the primary, right, very easily. Nobody really ran against him. I don't think anybody ran against him. 2020, we won the 2020 election. Is there any dispute on that? If you don't believe that, you don't believe a foundational element of the MAGA movement. We won 2020, and to show you how we won it, we picked up 14 House seats that night. 14 House seats. Then President Trump went into the wilderness. This is when Charlie Kirk really, I think, stepped up the most. President Trump was sent to Mar-a-Lago. They never thought he was coming back. The Republican Party never thought he was coming back. And what happened? President Trump grinded it out. In fact, he told us on this stage last year, right here, the first time he told anybody. When Charlie had him come out here and speak, what did he say? He said, I had to run again because I could not let them steal an election because they're stealing the country. And we see what Biden did.
Okay, so we're going to come back to Bannon because, well, all that's been going on. We basically from that we've seen basically a civil war of sorts erupting within the MAGA movement, the right wing politically in America. This was not. I wouldn't say this AmericaFest was a great thing in the end for MAGA or Republicans or the political right in America this week. Here's Michael Knowles commenting on it. We'll run a little bit of this, but we've got a lot of ground to cover on this tonight. Because this is, what we're seeing is the fracturing of the MAGA movement. Some of it may be performative, though.
We're here at AmericaFest. This is the largest, most energetic gathering of young conservatives in the country. This is the biggest one yet. It is completely sold out at capacity, tens and tens of thousands of people. They would have sold out a stadium had they been able to do it in one. You can't get a hotel room in Phoenix. The conservatives are here amid a right-wing civil war to pay tribute to the past, to look to the future. The title of my speech was Blessed Are the Peacemakers. My friends and colleagues who took the stage around me tonight had a little bit of a different thesis. I'm Michael Knowles. This is The Michael Knowles Show.
Okay. And that's enough of that because we have other ground to cover. But yeah, that kind of sums up the headline or the main point being made here. The MAGA right, the right wing, it's divided. And at the center of the storm from AmericaFest, Ben Shapiro, who is in political trouble as a result of this. I'm going to run. I think the bulk of maybe even the whole speech from Ben Shapiro, because this is, as I say, the hub. Well, it's the center of the storm. The center of the storm. Now, Shapiro's supporters are applauding what he did here, but this gave his political opponents ammunition to come out and attack him. I'm going to let it roll. You'll see why. If you weren't paying attention, we should be, because this is going to get worse.
It's even more of an honor to follow Erica Kirk, a heroic figure and a true American patriot. I really believe that the best way to judge a goodness of a man is to see the goodness of his wife and his children. And on that measure, Charlie was unsurpassed. Erica and her children are in all of our hearts. And of course, this is an incredibly bittersweet moment. It's absolutely bitter because of the murder of our friend Charlie Kirk, an irreplaceable human being. I knew Charlie from the time he was 18 years old, and I watched him build himself into one of the most powerful exponents of conservatism in America, one of the most powerful coalition builders in American history. But it's also sweet to see the number of people who continue to remember Charlie each and every day and to carry on his mission. Well, today, I want to talk about the future of the country. And the future of this country, this amazing country, relies on the future of the...
Oh, we're freezing up a little bit there.
It relies on what TPUSA defines as its core mission: freedom, free markets, and limited government. And most of all, the future of this country relies on truth.
Can't argue with that.
This country relies on truth because victory, true, real, lasting victory, cannot be achieved without truth. Victory without truth is victory for a lie, and that is no victory at all. And unity without truth is no unity. It is merely solidarity in falsehood. You see, we live in a chaotic time, in a time when lots of people are asking lots of legitimate questions about the conservative movement. What ought we to think about the relationship between free markets and traditional virtue? How should we craft a pragmatic foreign policy that spreads our interests and upholds our ideals? What governmental means are appropriate to achieve political ends? All of these questions aren't new, of course. They've been asked for as long as human beings have been talking about politics, thousands of years. And over the course of this conference, you'll hear a lot of opinions on a lot of these questions. I have my own perspectives on them, of course. You can hear them every single day on my show. My fundamental values have been the same for 25 years. Peace through strength on foreign policy. Traditional values on social policy. Free markets with regard to economics. But today, I want to talk about something even more important. How to discern those attempting to speak truth from frauds and grifters. Because something is new. An informational environment rife with both opportunity and chaos. Opportunity because the legacy media gatekeepers are no longer in charge of what we see and what we hear. And chaos because an anarchic informational environment means we actually have to be smart in how we assess the information and arguments that we hear. Why does that matter? Well, because today the conservative movement is in serious danger. It is in danger, not just from a left that all too frequently excuses everything up to and including murder. The conservative movement is also in danger from charlatans who claim to speak in the name of principle, but actually traffic in conspiracism and dishonesty, who offer nothing but bile and despair, who seek to undermine fundamental principles of conservatism by championing enervation and grievance. These people are frauds, and they are grifters, and they do not deserve your time. And they are something worse than that, a danger to the only movement capable of stopping the left from wrecking the country wholesale. So today, I want to discuss 5 obligations that people who speak to you on matters of importance have to you. I want to speak to you about our duties, Our first duty is truth. We owe you the truth. That means we should not mislead you. It means we shouldn't hide the ball. We shouldn't be deliberately obscure about what we're telling you. We have an obligation to clarity and to honesty.
Do I not say exactly that in my own words, in my own way, right here? Truth. That's foundational to freedom. I can't disagree with that.
This means that we actually have to be clear in the language that we use. We should not traffic in generality. We should not say things like, they shot Charlie, without specifying whom we mean by they. The person who allegedly shot Charlie Kirk, and whom all the evidence points at, all of it, is a gay, trans-loving furry. If we are going to target ideological movements, we should talk about the fact that the radical trans movement treats all those who oppose it as existential threats. Or if we're going to talk about the Democratic Party making room for the radical trans movement and echoing its inflammatory rhetoric, well, we should talk about that. Those are specific problems, and they require specific responses. When people say they shot Charlie, however, they are instead trafficking in vagary that results in increased hatred without proposing any effective response. They are fostering despair and rage, and that makes things worse. We must also be honest about what people say and do, regardless of what that means coalitionally. It is the job of politicians to build coalitions. It's the job of those of us who try to shape public opinion to hold politicians to account and to hold them accountable to our values. We must not let fear of audience deter us from telling the truth. We must not let fear of other hosts deter us from telling the truth. So, for example, if Candace Owens decides to spend every day since the murder of Charlie Kirk if Candace Owens decides to spend every day since the murder of Charlie Kirk casting aspersions at TPUSA and the people who work here, who worked with Charlie every single day, his best friends, to cast aspersions at Mikey McCoy and Andrew Colvin and Blake Neff and Tyler Boyer, and yes, at Erica Kirk, and to imply or outright claim complicity in a cover-up over Charlie's murder, to spew absolutely baseless trash implicating everyone from French intelligence to Mossad to members of TPUSA in Charlie's murder, or a cover-up in that murder, then we, as people with a microphone, have a moral obligation to call that out by name. Erica Kirk and TPUSA never should have been put in the position to have to defend themselves against such specious and evil attacks, particularly in a time of mourning. And the people who refuse to condemn Candace's truly vicious attacks, and some of them are speaking here, are guilty of cowardice. Yes, cowardice. The fact that they have said nothing while Candace has been vomiting all sorts of hideous and conspiratorial nonsense into the public square for years is just as cowardly. Second, because we owe you the truth, we owe you the duty to speak out of principle, not personal feeling. It should not matter whether we despise someone or whether we love someone. The question is what they say and what they do, and whether those things are morally decent or not. On a political level, do they foster freedom, justice, and prosperity? On a personal level, do they treat others as they would wish to be treated? Personal feeling is not a substitute for moral judgment. To take again the Candace Owens situation as an example, friendship with public figures who say or do evil things is not an excuse for silence on the matter. Politics is not the sisterhood of the traveling pants. Politics is about principle, and if you are willing to sacrifice basic truth and simple principle in favor of emotional solidarity, you have betrayed your fundamental duty to the American people. First off, I should break the omerta here and just be a little bit clear. The notion that people in our industry are close friends, like we all take holiday breaks with each other and go to each other's kids' graduations and stuff, is generally untrue. Some people do that, most of us don't. We see each other at conferences and we talk on the phone and all the rest. We're business colleagues. But even if it were true that other public figures were our best friends, our very best friends, that does not relieve us of our duty to speak out of principle and not to cover up evil or shy away from addressing it out of friendship. So no, Tucker Carlson, it is not an excuse to go silent on Candace's targeting of TPUSA.
Whoa. Whoa. Dangerous territory. Tucker.
Or to mirror her bullshit lines of questioning because you love Candace personally. The same holds true of Megyn Kelly, a person I consider a friend, characterizing Candace as a young mother and thus shying away from condemning her actions or fibbing about them. That is a non-starter. Meghan Markle is a young mother. Ilhan Omar is a young mother. That doesn't matter. And when Megyn said this week, quote, "My goal and my job here is to try to understand, yes, where Candace is coming from on this," and says she sees no purpose in inserting herself, quote, into this on one side, that is a moral and logical absurdity. There is only one moral side here, Erica Kirk's side. You know, the side of the widow with 2 children whose husband was shot live on camera in front of all of us. Friendship with the person accusing TPUSA of a cover-up of Charlie's murder is no excuse for cowardice. Third, and relatedly, we have a duty to take responsibility for what we say and do. If we hire awful people, we're responsible for that. I have some experience there, as you might suspect. That means that if we offer a guest for your viewing, we owe it to you to ask the kinds of questions that actually get at the truth. If we agree with the guest, that's fine, but we should own it. So, for example, if you host a Hitler apologist, Nazi-loving, anti-American piece of refuse like Nick Fuentes,
Man, now we're getting to the heart
you
of
know,
it.
the Nick Fuentes who said that the Vice President of the United States is a, quote, fat gay race traitor married to a Jeet. The person who said that Charlie Kirk was a, quote, retarded idiot. The person who said, and pardon my language here, it's his quote, that he, quote, took Turning Point USA and fucked it, and that's why it's filled with groypers. If you have that person on your show and you proceed to glaze him, you ought to own it. There is a reason that Charlie Kirk despised Nick Fuentes, and indeed even chided Dinesh D'Souza for debating him. He knew that Nick Fuentes is an evil troll, and that building him up is an act of moral imbecility. And that is precisely what Tucker Carlson did. He built Nick Fuentes up. And he ought to take responsibility for that, just as he ought to take responsibility for glazing pornographer and alleged sex trafficker Andrew Tate, or for mainstreaming fake historian and pseudo-Nazi apologist Daryl Cooper as America's best and most honest popular historian. Hosts are indeed responsible for the guests they choose and the questions they ask those guests. Fourth, because we have a duty to truth, we also have a duty to provide you with evidence of the claims that we make. Emotive accusations, conspiracy theories, and just guessing questions, that's lazy and stupid and misleading. None of them are a substitute for truth. None of them are a substitute for evidence. So, when Candace Owens says, "I don't know, but I know," that is retarded, and we are all more retarded for having heard it. When Steve Bannon, for example, accuses his foreign policy opponents of loyalty to a foreign country, he's not actually making an argument based in evidence. He's simply maligning people that he disagrees with, which is indeed par for the course from a man who was once a PR flack for Jeffrey Epstein. Check the record. Our duty to provide you evidence means we actually have to do much more than just ask questions. Just asking questions is something my 5-year-old does, and it's really cute when it comes from my 5-year-old. But when grown men and women spend their days just asking questions without, seeking answers, they are lying to you. In fact, they're doing something even worse. They are seeding distrust in the world around you, and they are enervating you in the process. So, for example, if many speakers, including Tucker Carlson and others, get on stage here at TPUSA and claim, without proper evidence, that Jeffrey Epstein was running a Mossad rape ring being covered up by the Trump administration, they are not actually uncovering a conspiracy or effectuating a solution. They are claiming a special provenance to information they won't let you see, which builds their power and leaves you with none. They are also implicating in their speculation actual human beings, good human beings, like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino and Pam Bondi, and yes, the President of the United States, even if they're too cowardly to say President Trump's name. And that means you won't trust those good people in the future. You haven't gotten smarter, you've just been manipulated. When forced to demonstrate their evidence, these same people will often refuse to provide it. They'll claim ignorance. They'll pretend they're outside the system. And they don't have access to actual information. They're just asking questions. But many of these same people have direct pipelines to informational sources. So, for example, if Tucker wants answers to his questions about, say, Jeffrey Epstein, he could call the Vice President of the United States. He's quite close with him. But he won't, because that might undermine the empty speculation. None of this means there aren't actual real conspiracies in the world. Of course there are. But actual conspiracies require actual evidence. Yes, there was a Russiagate conspiracy, and we know the names of the people involved and what they did. We know Hillary Clinton and Fusion GPS and James Comey and Loretta Lynch and Adam Schiff. We know all of those people. Yes, there was a COVID-19 conspiracy. We know that Anthony Fauci worked to shut down alternative solutions from people like Jay Bhattacharya. But when people posit a conspiracy and then provide you no evidence, they are doing you a fundamental disservice, and they are making you stupider in the process. Finally, because it is our job to make the lives of our audience better, right? That's really our job, is to give you more information to make your lives better. We have a duty to propose solutions. That's why we have to talk about our problems in order to find the solutions. That's what politics was supposed to be about, after all, finding solutions to our common problems. If we speak endlessly about the problems we face, without ever positing a solution other than wrecking the system or centralizing power in a cult-like figure, we are not finding solutions. We are merely making problems worse. Just asking questions, positing vague conspiracies, raving like Alex Jones about the secret confederacies that control your life, none of it makes your life better. None of it. In fact, it makes your life markedly worse. That's because if you truly come to believe that nothing in your life is in your control, you can't even take control of your own life. You despair of your ability to change your own circumstances, and then you fail. And you must not fail. Because here is the most fundamental truth of all in the United States. For all of its problems, many of which, a huge number of which, are real and serious, the United States is still the greatest country in the history of planet Earth. We have the greatest Constitution ever devised by man. We have the greatest founding philosophy ever put to paper in the Declaration of Independence. In this country, you can make of yourself what you will, and if there are true obstacles standing in your way, we can all work together to remove them. That, by the way, is the essence of conservatism, that we live in a world created by God with a logic and a rationale, that we as human beings were created in God's image, as it says in the book of Genesis, with creative capacity and the power to choose, and that in a free country of limited government and defined powers, with property rights and equality under law, our destiny is in our hands, and that we all have a duty to make the most of that historic opportunity. Anyone who tries to convince you otherwise is lying to you, and they are making your life worse in the process. Now, that lie may feel good in the moment. It may excuse us from taking the corrective action we can take on a personal level to fix our lives. It might give us someone else to blame for our own failures. But in the end, the lie kills. not just your future, but the country that we've been given. So, for those of us who talk for a living, that's our job. To discuss America's problems with truth and with evidence, to provide possible solutions, and to encourage Americans to succeed and make great decisions. We who speak to people on a regular basis, who have a microphone and an audience, we have duties to you. The duty to speak the truth. The duty to speak from principle, not personal feeling. The duty to take responsibility for our own actions. The duty to provide you with evidence to do more than conspiracize or just ask questions. And the duty to posit real solutions. And if we fail in those duties, you shouldn't listen to us. But you have duties too. Far more important duties. Duties to God and to yourself and to your families. The duty to do the best for yourself and your family and your country with the abilities that God gave you. The duty to be grateful for this extraordinary country. The duty to celebrate what we've all been given and to fight to preserve it. All of that, every bit of that, begins with truth. We owe you that quest for truth. You owe yourselves that quest for truth. And true victory only comes through truth. Thanks so much. Happy to take a couple questions.
Well, that triggered some people. It absolutely did at AmericaFest. When we come back, we'll show you some of the reaction, and it's not pretty.
Brightleaf Innovations is excited to offer our newest investment opportunity, the Turn Easy Bed Storage Solution.
Turns with a touch, spins all the way around. Every little thing you need is easy to be found. No more clutter, no more mess on the floor. Just spin it, reach it, you don't search anymore. Turn easy bed, spin your world around. Storage made simple, the best you found. Shelves your way, keep the mess away. Charge it, store it, night or day. Custom shelves for your books or your tech. Cozy space for your treasures to protect. Built-in power when you need to recharge. Smart design that makes your bedroom feel large. Turn easy bed, spin your world around. Storage made simple, the best you found. Shelves your way, keep the mess away. Charge it, store it, night or day.
Designed and developed by Brightleaf Innovations. Proudly Canadian and patent pending in North America. Turn Easy Bed transforms how you live.
To learn more about this innovative new product idea and exciting investment opportunity, call 519-784-0222 or visit brightleafinnovations.com.
So, I think there was a lot of truth in Ben Shapiro's speech, a whole lot of it. And I think it was a call to action and a challenge, reminding everyone that we have responsibilities, obligations, not the least of which is to the truth, which is something I keep talking about here. And that is in short supply these days, especially, this is why I get so frustrated and why I'm attacked. Frankly, it's so by some people who simply want to be part of a tribe and will just go along with whatever the narrative is, regardless of what the truth is. And we've seen that, I think, most dramatically with that crazy ostrich story. Truth be damned, just save the ostriches. Well, I'm dedicated to the truth because That is the path to freedom. And I've been seeing since the pandemic, deviations from the truth. People think that they can win politically, and they think that because the other side lies about things, that it justifies lying on your side in order to get what you want, because they don't see another way to get to victory, or whatever logic it is that they're employing in order to, like, it. Case in point, okay? Notices of liability. How many of those were filed during the pandemic and after? People running around handing out these notices of liability. You're liable, as though that was going to have some dramatic legal effect and end the lockdowns and make things better. And I kept saying, these notices of liability aren't worth the paper they're written on. This is BS. It's a waste of, it's literally a waste of time and a waste of resources, a waste of your energy. And that has been the case, because nothing in that vein has yielded any positive outcome at all. And I see even jobs today, and I'm talking about Canada now. I'm talking about jobs that still require people to get the jab. You can't get the job unless you get the jab. And what has been done to challenge that in a really efficient or effective legal manner? Very little. There have been some victories along the way, and we're, I would say as a truth movement, and I don't mean like the truthers believing in the, whatever darkness is down, whatever rabbit hole. I'm talking about real damn truth. We keep being we keep following these crazy people who take us down the wrong paths, and we wind up wasting our time. I don't. I try not to. I remember the first time I came across one of those crazy lettered notices of liability, where they wanted to go to the medical officers of health's home and hand this thing to him personally because he wasn't working in the office. And I'm reading this thing, and I said, this isn't going to work. It's going to be filed under G, garbage. Instantly, it won't have any effect. No. If he doesn't respond in 30 days, it's an admission of guilt, and then he'll go to jail. It's all BS. So we still have the problems in the Canadian Constitution that left us vulnerable to lockdowns. We still have the language in there that needs to be changed, and nobody's even talking about that anymore, because we all wasted our bloody time talking about the ostriches, which is, its own thing, but it doesn't focus on any of that. We've meandered away from that. We've just forgotten about it. I guess maybe to some of these people, it wasn't really that important after all. So what's their true agenda? Well, it sure as hell isn't truth, because I see a lot of crap out there and just outright lying. And a lot of it just because it's, as Ben Shapiro said, a lot of it is about grifting. It's about just being anti-government automatically in order to get people fired up so that they donate. It's not about facts or truth at all. Those people, I mean, they just frustrate the living daylights out of me. And when I just don't go along, I get hammered. Oh, happens every night. How many thumbs downs do we have on Rumble tonight? Well, let's just update that. 5 down. Yeah, most of those, I'm sure, as in every night, come along and they just give us the thumbs down before the program even starts, because they don't want truth and they don't believe in free speech. And I see somebody in the chat tonight, I wasn't sure who, but I noticed it in passing, saying, that, what was it? Just a mention about free speech. Without freedom of speech, nothing else matters. Yeah, that's true. But what is free speech? We've explored that. We've experimented with free speech here, right? See, I'd say there's free speech and there's also malicious speech. Should someone be allowed to just go out there and lie about things? Should someone be allowed to take out an advertisement to promote a product that's going to, I don't know, harm you and lie about it and tell you that it's going to do good things for you? I don't think so. That's not good for society. That's not free speech. So there has to be a limit always, because you can't have a serious conversation about free speech without talking about what the limits have to be. You know, I should not be allowed to sell, I don't know, Twinkies with arsenic in them and tell people that it's healthy when it isn't. So you have to have limits, and it goes beyond that. And then you have, because there's malicious speech, there is propaganda, and there is foreign influence in all countries. And I see countries trying to grapple with all of that. Anyway, I'm getting off the track here a little bit, but that's because what Ben Shapiro was talking about here was largely about that. It's about people lying, or in some cases revising history, which is what we've seen on the left side of the political spectrum. Historical revisionists who clearly lie about things, if you know anything about history, but they make that new version of history the new reality because they just convince you of it in your mind. And I'm seeing it right now. He talks about people like that, Daryl Cooper, Nick Fuentes. They're historical revisionists. You know, and it's okay to question things, I suppose, but you better bring the damn facts. And there's too much reality, new reality, historical revisionism, through historical revisionism being shaped through just opinion and misinformation. I hate to use that phrase because it's a trigger word in itself now, right? So Shapiro's right about a lot of that stuff. A lot of truth in what he said. And let's just call it for what it is. It's like, it's Jew hating. A lot of it is really what it comes down to. And I can see that he's afraid of where all this has escalated to. That's what's going on out there. And it's uncomfortable. And people can paint it and cloak it any way they want. But that, at the end of the day, is exactly what's going on. Hating the Jews. And then there are some, certainly in the conservative movement, who just hate a lot of different people, including the Jews and the Palestinians and the people from India. And it goes on, and the list goes on and on and on and on. And that is really at the heart of the whole thing. And that's what really threatens to just rip the heart out of America and really destroy what is a dysfunctional conservative right MAGA movement, Republican Party taken over by MAGA. That is what is eating away at the whole thing, because the united to win the election by bringing a lot of people with, wearing different political stripes and bringing different political ideologies and beliefs together just to win the election by uniting against the progressives. And now you've got this dysfunctional family, and you have some people who hate the Jews aligned with the Jews, and both of them on many issues, for instance, are, aligned. Conservative fiscal policies, and anger towards certain other groups. But it's dysfunctional because at the end of the day, they have a lot of things that divide them. And so united they've been for a while, but now a year in, that dysfunctionality is coming to the fore. Here's Steve Bannon again. And here, let's just look at the post related to this from Candace Owens. Yes, Ben has a long career behaving like a parasite. That's an interesting word, you know, because that's dehumanizing, and it is intentionally used and has been intentionally used throughout history to describe Jewish people and others that some people want to target for political and really unspeakable reasons. She goes on and says he thinks he has a right to take over what other people build. He has, all caps, always been envious of Charlie Kirk, and he is currently attempting to rewrite history. Isn't that interesting? Like he did with Andrew Breitbart after he died. She goes on, but it's based on what Bannon says here.
Shapiro is like a cancer, and that cancer spreads. It's a cancer and it metastasizes. He tried to take over Breitbart and I ran him out of there. He tried to take over David Horowitz's, who was his mentor. Don't ask me. Ask the guys associated with David Horowitz what he did there. He tried to take that over. And mark my word, he will make a move on Turning Point because he's always been envious of Charlie Kirk. Shapiro is like a...
Wow. So the big happy MAGA family isn't all that happy right now. There are big problems, as you're witnessing in real time. Yeah. And a lot of this straight out of Alex Jones. Obviously, Shapiro, Alex Jones, they're at odds on a lot of things. And as a result of all of this, Alex Jones challenging Ben Shapiro to a debate on InfoWars, of course. And all of this really is clickbait. Builds those numbers.
Shapiro, I challenge you to a debate. I challenge you anywhere, anytime, any place, as long as there is a neutral moderator, and we don't even need a moderator. We can just go at it. I'll, like the Lincoln Douglas debate, I'll go 10 hours with you, sonny boy. In fact, no moderator needed. Let's just get up here at a podium and let's just start going after it. And I'm going to eat you alive. And you know what? I predict that Ben Shapiro won't take this challenge. And if it gets raised to him, because I'm going to start beating the drum on this, if he doesn't do it, and I know he won't, he'll say, oh, I'm not going to give him attention. I'm not going to platform him. I'm not going to elevate him. Son, I had a bigger audience than you've ever had when you were in junior high. I have had the biggest, hands-down, English-speaking program in the world for at least 2 years, 2016, 2017. I am always in the top 5 English-speaking broadcasters in the world, if you look at all the different numbers. You have never been bigger than me.
That's why we have to talk about our problems in order to find the solutions. That's what politics was supposed to be about, after all, finding solutions to our common problems. If we speak endlessly about the problems we face, without ever positing a solution other than wrecking the system or centralizing power in a cult-like figure, we are not finding solutions. We are merely making problems worse. Just asking questions, positing vague conspiracies, raving like Alex Jones about the secret confederacies that control your life, none of it makes your life better. None of it. In fact, it makes your life markedly worse. That's because if you truly come to believe that nothing in your life is in your control, you can't even take control of your own life. You despair of your ability to change your own circumstances, and then you fail. And you must not fail.
You don't have intellectual depth. You don't have deep understanding. You read a bunch of talking points you're fed, you go spew them out of your mouth, and everybody goes, oh, what a smart young man. And you're the gatekeeper, Shapiro. You're what the establishment never censored. You're what the globalists thought was okay to have out there, to have a fake conservative. You are the establishment, Shapiro. You're a wannabe Hollywood idiot. You guys wasting hundreds of millions of dollars trying to make movies so you can be movie stars. Hollywood's been dead for decades. It's over, fool. Try to make your new little Hollywoods so you can all act like you're movie executives. You're an idiot. You have no vision. You're a husk. Is that a rant? Yeah, and it's all true, too.
And he's a character, isn't he? What a show. Show continues after this.
Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News isn't just a news outlet, it's a community of truth seekers. Your donation at freedomreporters.com fuels our mission to report the stories that mainstream media won't touch. Thank you, Maverick family.
But you know, it's not all squeaky clean. And as much as Erica Kirk has been put on a pedestal, there's a problem. Because a lot of people are already trying to tear her down. And I think that just the way that Charlie Kirk's death has been handled there is some justification for scrutiny, maybe even criticism, not to take away from the tragedy and the horror of what has happened, but to question the exploitation of it. This is her speaking at Turning Point USA, and this is almost seems like a Freudian slip of sorts.
Despite the devastating loss of Charlie Kirk, my incredible husband at UVU, Caleb has persisted with the same gift. Grit. It has been a long day. Trust me, you're not a grifter, honey. It's all good. Despite the devastating...
Weird, eh? That she would say that. There it is. And there is so much money flowing through that organization. And don't tell me that she relates, she can relate to what it's like to be one of the little people. I don't think so. These people at that level, they got money. Wow, they've got money. The division, deep though, and Tim Pool coming out, talking about Candace Owens, talking about what's going on within the MAGA movement, within the right, and he's saying, if this is where it's going, he doesn't want anything to do with it.
So Candace Owens is now claiming Ben Shapiro killed Charlie Kirk. And before any one of her conspiratards come out and say, well, she never said that, she tweeted, every time Ben speaks, I feel more certain Israel is involved in 9/10Z. He's just way too invested in Charlie's murder. He never liked Charlie, and he's now suddenly pretending he had a duty to defend his legacy. Ben only cares about Israel's interests, so Israel is involved. So Israel is involved. Okay. The implication, the message sent to her followers, is that Ben knows Israel was involved in his murder, which means Israel helped facilitate his murder. What does it mean to be involved? And Ben is well aware that they did. The implication, of course, being that Ben is part of the conspiracy to murder Charlie Kirk. I'm not playing these stupid games. Candace knows exactly what she's doing when she talks like she's retarded and says these things with all vague innuendo that can only lead to one conclusion. And that's why, I want to give Megyn Kelly a bit of respect because I do think she is smart and does a good job. But on this one thing, I'm going to criticize you, Megyn. When Ben pointed out that Megyn was implying Erica Kirk killed Charlie or was involved in that, she did. She did. But she plays this game where she's going to come out and go, I never said that. Holy. You know what, guys? I'm going to be honest with you. I am glad that I did not go to AmFest. To see Ben Shapiro and Tucker Carlson going at each other on stage. I'm so over this. Candace, yes, she's an evil person. This has gone beyond psychotic. It is what it is. I like Tucker. Tucker's allowed to have different opinions than me, same as many of these lefties that I know. And I think Ben was wrong to criticize Tucker in the way that he did. But Ben has also a lot of opinions that aren't the same as me. This is junk. All of this is nonsense junk. The space is devolving. It has devolved. I'm not interested in Candace's retardation psychobabble. If this is what the MAGA movement and the political movement on the right becomes, I am not interested, nor will I seek to in any way be involved with whatever any of that is. It's bad enough this country is split in half with wacko leftists wanting to give kids sex changes, and now we have Candace, and she doesn't represent the right, I know, but now you've got this weird, we're working on this card game. We're trying to figure out, is she left? Is she right? Is she establishment? It's like she's something new. Because she has a bunch of women that are liberals who watch her, but she also has a bunch of weird conspiratard anti-Israel people who are so blind they can't see their own hands in front of their faces, but they live in this world. And I got to be honest, I think it's algorithmically generated in a lot of ways. There's no reason YouTube should be propping up Candace on the front page, whatever. More sane and rational voices do not prevail against Candace feeding red meat to a bunch of retards. So I have no interest in playing games, playing nice, whatever it is.
It is largely algorithmic, and truth is not rewarded. Conflict is on social media, YouTube, Facebook. And Facebook, I think, has its own political agenda. And that agenda, I think, is aligned with whatever it needs to be in order to make a lot of money. How's that for truth? I think that almost goes without saying, right? What's a lot of this rooted in? Well, it's rooted in what I've been talking about. The race war, the culture war, J.D. Vance touching on that. Here's the vice president. And I know where this comes from, but whatever.
Unlike the left, we stand against treating anybody, and I love what Nikki said about this. We don't treat anybody different because of their race or their sex. So we have relegated DEI to the dustbin of history, which is exactly where it belongs.
Is that true, though? Do they not? Do they? Are we? Is the United States? Is the Trump administration? Is ICE? Is that true? Are people being treated the same regardless of their skin color now? Is that true? I'll leave it with you.
In the United States of America, you don't have to apologize for being white anymore. And if you're an Asian, you don't have to talk around your skin color when you're applying for college, because we judge people based on who they are. not on ethnicity and things they can't control. We don't persecute you for being male, for being straight, for being gay, for being anything. The only thing that we demand is that you be a great American patriot, and if you're that, you're very much on our team. Unlike the left, we stand against treating anybody, and I love what
I wonder, like, is it true? Is that really true? Is that what's really going on in America right now? That's an open question. Probably deserves more discussion. We're not going to resolve that one tonight. Let's see here. J.D. Vance, white supremacist, says Dragon, and retarded. CBC Brown says, Tim wears a toque. Yeah, I said it. It's a toque, Americans. Yeah, that's right. He wears a toque. I don't even get it. I never understood that. What is that fashion accessory that he has chosen? Why? Is he a wannabe Canadian? Maybe we should make him an honorary Canuckistanian. He says, you need to turn the heat up. You're hiding male pattern baldness. Oh, man. Yeah, Dragon. I've been watching, I watched a few videos of a young lady who does a podcast on YouTube. I can't recall her name. I've only seen a few of them, called Life Take Two. She addresses a lot of this stuff. She's kind of moved like from the right wing, living in a community that was very, MAGA oriented. Anyway, she's flipped, and she's got a new husband and a new life, and she's gone way over to the other side. So it's interesting to listen to her perspective on this, because she comes from, I'd say the most extreme part, or maybe not the most extreme, but certainly from the religious heart of Christian religious heart of the MAGA movement. And so she knows of what she speaks there, but it's interesting to listen to her perspective. I don't really watch her every day or anything, and it's something she says that I'm not really in alignment with, but a lot of what she says makes sense, and you might want to go check out a couple of her videos, just to get a different perspective on things, of someone who's been on one side and flipped over to the other. Interesting stuff. Life Take Two. I don't remember her name, but that's the name of the YouTube podcast, if you're interested, for a different perspective. And I encourage people to get a broad range of, input for your brain. Go look at it all, man. And then, only then, can you really assess. Here's Vance, another clip of Vance talking about the division here, I believe. Let's share this. And then I'm going to show you how far everything, though, has devolved, as Tim Pool alluded to. And it's gone down into a pretty dark place in the conservative movement. But I think it's not just the conservative movement. I think it's America in general. I'm going to show you very shortly. Here's Vance first.
I didn't bring a list of conservatives to denounce or to deplatform, and I don't really care if some people out there, I'm sure we'll have the fake news media, denounce me after this speech. But let me just say, the best way to honor Charlie is that none of us here should be doing something after Charlie's death that he himself refused to do in life. He invited all of us here. I didn't bring a list of...
As much as people say Charlie Kirk was someone who united people, there's he has become definitely a martyr, and he is he's a sacred martyr. You're not allowed to criticize him now, at least not yet. You're not supposed to anyway. Because if you do that, you're going to get hammered, attacked, deplatformed, and canceled. Exactly that. So beware. But here's Erica Kirk. This is what she like. This is not long after her husband died. I don't know. Even now, this just seems out of place somehow. This glitzy showbiz entrance. You remember when she spoke after Charlie Kirk's death? And you got this. Fireworks. For me, it's the fireworks, and she just glitzy, it's showbiz, baby. It's showbiz. Like, that's an Elvis style outfit, isn't it? Beauty queen, like literally a beauty queen on the pageant circuit, right? Successful that way. But she's no Charlie Kirk, I'll tell you that. And Kirk was, as much as he may have been a unifying force for a lot of people in the conservative movement, he was also very divisive because he's very opinionated and he comes from a certain position, right? So people on the other side really hated him. And that's the truth. That's such is life in politics. But you know what is very American about everything down there? And I mean, uniquely American is the exploitive nature of politics, of even death, tragedy, the commercialization of it. And that was, I can show you how that found its way into AmericaFest. This is I couldn't believe that this was actually a real thing. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm overly sensitive. Maybe I'm because a couple of people have sent me messages in the last couple of months, especially over the ostrich thing. You're a communist. maybe I'm just too commie. I don't know. I'm not a communist anymore. The Tucker Carlson is a communist. He certainly isn't that. What am I getting at? They recreated the Charlie Kirk murder scene as a display, as like a trade show display at AmericaFest. And people were taking selfies at it. Only in America. Like, I swear. This is one of the things that really divides or distinguishes Canada as something different than the United States. We don't up here really embrace that kind of thing. When there are murders here, you get some coverage, but generally speaking, murders and really tragic, horrific crimes, we don't exploit them in the way that they're exploited in the United States. Whether you're talking about the assassination of JFK or the Buford Pusser walking tall killing of his wife, right? Which we talked about. I had that interview with the former president of the Buford Pusser fan club. I mean, there's a whole community that appears to have been living in a lie for decades, since the 70s. Because now, after all these years, it looks like investigators are saying this guy who was propped up as a hero, an American law enforcement hero, a pillar of society. It looks like he probably killed his own wife, murdered her, and yet they made movies about the man. They have a festival that's still ongoing there, which the community benefits from economically, and they need that economic stimulus every year because it's, not a place with like a lot of industry there, or a lot of jobs. So they rely on it largely, especially the merchants in town, the independent small retailers and restaurants and so on. But that's like an American thing. And you go to even automotive museums and you'll see, James Dean's death. Well, they don't actually have his death car because it was stolen. But there's a reward that's been offered for it so they can put it on display at the Volo Museum near Chicago. What other examples, Just many of them. And now this at frickin' AmericaFest. They're already doing it. Charlie Kirk. I mean, this is still fresh in the minds of people who watched it. In many cases, live streamed on social media. His assassin, and here, watch.
You can see from behind me, this is a recreation of the tent where Charlie Kirk lost his life at Utah University in September, and people are taking selfies with it. You can see from behind me, this is a recreation.
And people were taking selfies there. Look at me. I'm at the Charlie Kirk assassination scene. Like, what is that? Is that just me, or is that not distasteful? Is that not gross? I don't know. I think it's just, that's MAGA today, or at least an element of it. And there it is. It's like right at AmericaFest, like, come on down and take a photo at the Charlie Kirk death scene. Tourist attraction right over here. Step right up. Pay your 5 bits. Roadside attraction. That's a very American thing. Charles Manson. Not glorified, but certainly he's a celebrity and has become a part of the dark side of Americana. Helter Skelter. I remember as a kid the movie running on television. Huge ratings. And yet, in Canada, I would say the closest equivalent of something like that would be like the Paul Bernardo case. But there was a lot of news coverage about that. Certainly, there were some books written, but there was never like a feature film made. And my experience in Canada has been working in media that once you sort of that we just don't exploit tragedy like that. Once the story is covered, the story is covered, and then we kind of push it off to the side, which is why, largely too, we don't hear as much in Canada about murders and the nature of murders in this country, what led to them. I would say, and I've always said in my experience as being covering murders, like actual murders and murder trials as a journalist over many decades, that Canada we don't have a lot of guns, so the weapon of choice for killers is knives. Because we had a lot of stabbings. A lot of people killed that way in Canada, less so with guns, but killed nonetheless. But we don't have the same kinds of problems up here that they have in the United States, proportionally or per capita. You start looking at stats, Canada it's different up here, but it's apples and oranges. We've got our own set of problems. But man, I'll tell you, I just found that made me nauseous when I saw that they were doing that at AmericaFest with that display. I'm going to look in the chat. Yeah, Pro-Immune, truly sick. I think so. disgusting. Absolutely, says Cindy. Lindy, oh my God, this is freaking sick. Yeah, I think so too. But it hardly got any mention. It was so, yeah, it was so gross to me and so unbelievable. I literally thought it was fake. I thought somebody's making this shit up. I had to verify it before I shared it with you tonight. And so that too is a statement on what American society is, where they're at right now, where the world is at. Less so Canada. All you pro 51st staters out there, take note of that, because that is a big part of American culture. Even in the Buford Pussard thing, it's still a murder, whether Buford Pussard killed his own wife or whether it was assailants who did it and shot her and him, although it appears he shot himself. But when he was killed, like, his death car is on display in a museum as a tourist attraction. Now, I would say too that the JFK limousine is also, I think it's still there at the Henry Ford Museum. There's historical relevance to it, and I think that there is, some merit in putting it on display there. But you have to be very careful in how that kind of material is handled, so that it doesn't cross the line. What was going on? This is AmericaFest, and it's too soon. And it's just a recreated death scene where people can get selfies. I don't see the value in it from, teaching history as an artifact. That's like at the Henry Ford Museum. That's the actual limousine that the president was assassinated in, and it went back into service after they cleaned it up and fixed it all up. So there's a lot of history with that car, with more than one president. Let's take a little break. We'll come back on the other side.
Brightleaf Innovations is excited to offer our newest investment opportunity, the Turn Easy Bed Storage Solution.
Turns with a touch, spins all the way around. Every little thing you need is easy to be found. No more clutter, no more mess on the floor. Just spin it, reach it, you don't search anymore. Turn easy bed, spin your world around. Storage made simple, the best you found. Shelves your way, keep the mess away. Charge it, store it, night or day. Custom shelves for your books or your tech. Cozy space for your treasures to protect. Built-in power when you need to recharge. Smart design that makes your bedroom feel large. Turn easy bed, spin your world around. Storage made simple, the best you found. Shelves your way, keep the mess away. Charge it, store it, night or day. Designed and developed by Brightleaf Innovations. Proudly Canadian and patent pending in North America. Turn Easy Bed transforms how you live.
To learn more about this innovative new product idea and exciting investment opportunity, call 519-784-0222 or visit brightleafinnovations.com.
And so, I was attacked right after the Charlie Kirk killing because we created that song, right? Weekend at Charlie's. And so there was one moron and mentally deficient person in particular who didn't have the intellectual depth to understand what the song was really about. And he ended up exploiting taking advantage of the song to spin it out of context to try to shut this channel down permanently. Well, screw you. Man, am I sick of that guy. So I'm not going to say his name. You know who I'm talking about. But I'm going to play it again because it's the opposite of what that idiot was telling people. The song is about exploiting death. Here it is. It'll probably trigger one or two people.
He's not gone. He's just gone party mode. Weekend at Charlie's. Ooh la la. Dancing in Valhalla. Ha ha ha. Fake or alive, nobody knows. Charlie's still striking a crazy pose. Oh, flash the lights, the DJ plays. Charlie's back in mysterious ways. FBI can't find the proof, but the beat goes boom and it shakes the roof. Hands up high, don't stop the show. If he's a ghost, we'll never know. Weekend at Charlie's, ooh la la. Dancing in Valhalla, ha ha ha. Fake or alive, nobody knows. Charlie's still striking a crazy pose. Charlie, Charlie, where'd you go? Valhalla disco, let's reload. Spin that rumor, play that beat. Weekend at Charlie's, move your feet. Weekend at Charlie's, ooh la la. Living forever in a big hurrah. Fake or alive, nobody knows. But Charlie keeps dancing, strike that pose. Weekend at Charlie's, ooh la la. Dancing in Valhalla, ha ha ha. Fake or alive, nobody knows. Charlie's still striking a crazy pose. Charlie, Charlie, where'd you go? Valhalla disco, let's reload. Spin that rumor, play that beat. Weekend at Charlie's, move your feet. He's not dead. He's just on the dance floor.
See, because especially right after his killing, there were all the conspiracies that people started to talk about. And that's also a very American thing. And that's exploiting his death. All the, he's still alive. And, the cops are lying to us and spinning up all of this BS. And even the way the MAGA movement resurrected him with an artificial intelligence voice at the memorial service to raise him up as a deity, comparing him even to Jesus. That's exploitive because they were using him at the time, and they continue to use him to deliver a political message and to generate donations. And that's what that song's about, for those who are not smart enough to understand. But that, you guys get it. There's one or two others who I think maybe did get it, but saw an opportunity to attack because they don't believe in free speech at all. Because they just run around trying to cancel people like me, because I really am dedicated to real truth. And there's a phrase that's been thrown around and watered down so much nobody knows what the hell it even means anymore. And yet I remain dedicated to it because that's the only true path to freedom. It's not just free speech. It's about truth, honesty, integrity. Those have to be the cornerstones of it all. It's not enough just to let people spout off with whatever they want to say. that stuff has to go challenged. And if that's what they're engaged in is malicious speech, well, that really has to be challenged and maybe tempered. And as a host of a live stream, Ben Shapiro is right. I have to take responsibility for the people that I put on the program. And in fact, just as a sidebar, I was just in a Zoom call 2 days ago with another media company that was interested in possibly doing an interview with me about something we have been working on here. And I won't get into the details of it right now because I'm not sure where it's all going, and that's fine. But I was asked in the course of all of that if, when I'm bringing people on the program, do I just let people come on with whatever their views are and just let people talk? And I said, no, I don't do that. I talk to everybody. I give everybody an opportunity, a chance to come on, but it isn't enough to just let one person say something and then let another person say what they want to say, and then let somebody else say what they want to say. If someone is obviously, clearly lying about things or misleading people, engaging in misdirection intentionally, employing malicious speech, it's my job to call that out, to slay the lie, to hold people accountable. That's what real journalism is. It's not like, well, this guy says that, that's their opinion. That guy says that, that's their opinion. And that is something that is addressed even in the standards and ethics laid out by the Canadian Association of Journalists. That's embedded in me. And I don't always get it right. And some stuff gets by me. And sometimes I don't recognize lies. And so people have said lies on this program. I try to backtrack and pick things up later. But as you're interviewing people, I'm not serving the public. I'm not serving you well if I don't challenge somebody who I know is just straight up lying. And more than that, even if someone is just sitting there coughing up information that isn't factual or accurate because they are just simply misinformed, and I have evidence and real information and facts to counter that, then that's also my obligation as I sit in this chair to use that information to bring you closer, bring us all closer to the truth. That's what real journalism is. Not sensationalism, not fireworks displays, and not crocodile tears, not liquefied birds and dumpsters with no evidence whatsoever that ever happened. And if they're lying to you about that, what else were they lying to you about? A lot. It's disgusting because so many people buy into it. And a lot of the people buying into it are just full of crap. And the other thing I said, a lot of this stuff that we're witnessing right now, even within the Turning Point USA, right-wing MAGA civil war, the truth of the matter is a lot of this, I think, is performative. Just like when Owen Schroyer quits InfoWars and Alex Jones makes a big deal out of it, and they're fighting on the show. And you see the infighting between these people. And I think maybe the Shapiro thing is more real than a lot of what we've seen going on in the past. But a lot of times the fighting is just theater. They fight with each other just to get you to watch, to get us to watch, to click on their videos, because conflict sells and it's rewarded by the social media platforms. You fight, you get bigger ratings. You know who got big ratings back in the 70s and 80s in places like Erie and then later out in California? The Snowmen. I'd never heard of these guys before, so I don't know how big they really were, but I came across this. I got to share it with you tonight as we near the end of the broadcast. And I have a big buildup all written for you here as I introduce this band. Ladies and gentlemen, grab your hot cocoa and crank up the fireplace because this Christmas is about to get seriously chilled. Hailing from the snowy depths of Erie, Pennsylvania, these rock warriors migrated west to California, conquered the club circuit, and then mysteriously vanished into a decades-long blizzard. But now, just in time for the holidays, they've thawed out and returned, looking fresher and whiter than ever. And I don't mean that in a racist way at all. With that ghostly white makeup and larger-than-life stage presence, they're basically albino Kiss, the frost-bitten love children of Gene Simmons and Jack Frost himself. So bundle up, rock fans, because these guys are ready to melt your face while keeping it undeniably cool. Put your frozen hands together for the seasonal shock rock sensation that's been chilling in the deep freeze since the 80s. Here they are, live and icy. Let me get them up. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, the Snowman.
Consciously, subconsciously. It's a little message by the Snowman. It's a little bit of a history lesson. It's about that instinct, one of those instincts you were all born with. It's a little story about that old rock and roll.
Get down.
Communication.
I know you see. Oh, yeah. Oh, look at those effects. Hard out. Those hips, man. Elvis had nothing on this. I know. Baby rock. Oh my God, he's gonna blow up! Oh, look at him run his hands over his nipples. Oh, what happens in the cold nose? Which of you ladies wants to backstage pass? Not me. I hear you. Oh, more applause. Are you guys clapping at home? How many of them are there? Moans. So heavy. Oh, that was incredibly rough. Look at that. Ow! Oh! Ow! Don't hurt yourself, dude. You smoke. Act so cool. He's helping the camera. Look at that. White smoke is This was the early version.
Come on, just like that. I mean, everybody. Dig these people in the front. They don't have to be told. I see some folks sitting down in the back. Early senility must be setting in. They've invented armchair rock and roll. It don't exist, man. There's only one way to rock and roll. Get your hands out of your pants when you're trying to pull.
Oh no! You tell me, man. What you trying to pull? Just pull your pants.
Well, I'm feeling right down to my toes. You know that rock and roll fever is something that everybody knows. But when you hear the guitar screaming, you gotta move it to the beat. You got no control, you gotta rock and roll, just so you know what you it's nice and it might be right. You should go home when you can. You got rock and roll community. Rock and roll communication. Yeah.
Give her. Oh my God! They got on fire. Careful, careful. Fire. Have these people. Oh, one more hour.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God. I was wrong. The 80s were not better. Oh, the snowman. I'm sorry, snowman. I'm sure you're really nice guys. It's just, it's a different time. Okay. Back then it was cutting edge. Love you guys. See you tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern on the frosty side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.